Welcome children, grade 7, chapter 6, supplementary reader. I want something in a cage. Let us see the solution. And before that, we will see the summary also, right? I want something in a cage. Summary. Mr. Purcell ran a shop of pets. One day, a strange man came there. He bought two doves, but soon after coming out of the shop, he let the doves free. This strange act made Mr. Purcell uneasy. His shop began to appear to him a haunted house. The shop had all kinds of pets on the shelves. There were many cages. Mr. Purcell considered himself a professional man. There was always some noise in the shop. This was created by the sounds of different animals on the shop. There seemed to be everywhere a flicker of life. The life in cages did not trouble Mr. Purcell's customer. They praised the caged animals and called them cute. Mr. Purcell showed his concern about the well being of birds and animals in his shop. He dealt in fish food and bird seed and prescribed remedies for ailing canaries. He wore large glasses which magnified his eyes. His looks made the author compare him to a wise owl. The noise in the shop did not trouble Mr. Purcell. He was as used to it as to the ticking of a clock. The customers who came to buy a pet also did not mind this noise. But a man had bought two doves and let them free. He had found the shop depressing. He asked the owner if all the noise did not upset him. This man had shiny shoes. His suit was cheap. His dress was ill fitting but new. He had close cropped hair and unsteady eyes. He didn't seem very clear as to what he wanted. He had been just released from prison. So he wanted to buy an animal which could give him the taste of freedom. His eyes fell on a pair of doves. He knew that the doves loved to fly high in the air. He did not buy the doves because he loved them. He wanted to have the pleasure of freeing some animal. This urge was so great that for this he spent all his money. This he had earned after working hard as a prisoner for 10 years. The amount was $5. After buying the doves, this new customer talked to Mr. Purcell for a little while. Mr. Purcell offered to advise him about the care and feeding of the doves. The man, however, was not interested in that. He said bah with disdain and went out of the shop. It was so because he was not interested in keeping the doves. As soon as he came out, he opened the cage. He let the doves fly high in the sky. Mr. Purcell saw it and felt vaguely insulted. So that's the end of the summary and comprehension check. This is part 1. Write true or false against each of the following statements. Mr. Purcell sold birds, cats, dogs, and monkeys. Yes, it is true. He was very concerned about the well being of the birds and animals in his shop. False. He was impressed by the customer who bought two dogs. False. He was a successful shop owner though insensitive and cold as a person. True. So, and the second question is, why is Mr. Purcell compared to an owl? Purcell appeared like an owl when he looked through his glasses. His glasses were magnified, isn't it? That's why. Question number 3 is, find from the third paragraph, pick out the words associated with cries of birds. Whispered, twitter, squeal, cheeps. And the second one, words associated with noise, stir, rustling, scampered. The word suggestive of confusion and fear is bewildered, blindly seeking. The fourth one is Mr. Purcell heard it no more than he would have heard the monotonous ticking of a familiar clock. Read para beginning with "It was a rough day." What does it refers to? It refers to the chirping, squealing, and moving of birds all around him. Why does Mr. Purcell not hear it clearly? He has become so used to those noises that he doesn't mind them. So, page number 42, question number 1. Do you think the atmosphere of Mr. Purcell's shop was cheerful or depressing? Give a reason for your answer. The atmosphere in Mr. Purcell's shop was dull and cheerless. The shop was full of movements of noising birds and pet animals. Mr. Purcell had become used to that noise, but customer wondered how the owner put up with that noise. Describe the stranger who came to the pet shop. What did he want? The stranger who came to Mr. Purcell's shop had been released from jail after 10 years of imprisonment. His suit, though new looking, was cheap and ill fitting. He had close cropped hair, his eyes moved all around in the shop. He wanted to purchase something in a cage. The man insisted on buying the doves because he was fond of birds. Do you agree? How had he earned that $5 he had? No, the man was neither fond of birds nor did he insist on buying the fair doves. He only wanted some birds in a cage. The man had spent 10 years in prison. He had to work hard. He was paid only half a dollar per year. He left the jail with just $5 and a cheap suit. Was the customer interested in the care and feeding of the doves he had bought? If not, why not? No, the man had no love or liking for the doves. He did not mean to keep them as pets, so he paid no attention to what Mr. Purcell said about the feed and care of birds. Soon after stepping out of the shop, he freed the bird and dropped the cage. Page number 42, you have to discuss in topics. Why, in your opinion, did the man set the doves free? The man set the doves free because he had got already the better taste of imprisonment. He knew the need and value of freedom. It was his love for freedom that he spent his hard earned money on buying the doves and setting them free. Okay, next, second question. Why did it make Mr. Purcell feel vaguely insulted? Mr. Purcell felt insulted because he had reduced the price of the doves and still made profit. He felt small to see the customer's love for freedom and his great sacrifice. Now, more questions solved. This is not there in your book. What was Purcell's source of earning? Mr. Purcell ran a pet shop. He sold cats, dogs, monkeys, and birds. He also sold fish food and bird seed. He also prescribed remedies for the sick animals. In this way, he earned his living. Describe Mr. Purcell's daily routine at the shop. Mr. Purcell opened his shop and sat on a high stool every morning. He unfolded the newspaper and read through it. He attended the customer if there was any. It was his daily routine. What surprised Mr. Purcell one day? Purcell had hung a bell at the door of his shop. It began to ring on the arrival of a customer. That day it failed to ring. Mr. Purcell was surprised. He felt that the customer appeared out of the air. Why did the customer hate Mr. Purcell? The customer noticed that Mr. Purcell had imprisoned birds and animals to earn money. He had robbed them of their freedom. The customer loved freedom, so he hated Mr. Purcell. Why did the customer free the imprisoned doves? The customer had suffered the pains of prison life. He was a jailbird for a short while ago. So he tossed the doves into the air and freed them from their imprisonment. How did the customer feel after freeing the doves? The customer had freed two doves from their prison, that is, cage. He had utilized his hard earned money. He longed to teach Mr. Purcell a good lesson, therefore, he felt happy about his action. Long answer. What type of shopkeeper was Mr. Purcell? Mr. Purcell sold pets at his shop. They included both animals and birds. He displayed his birds, that is pet, in a golden and beautiful cages. He also sold fish food and bird seed. He prescribed medicine for them. He knew how to treat the sick birds and animals. He advised his customer what to feed the birds on how to look after the animals. He appeared to know everything about birds and animals. He was a wise man. His behavior with the customer was like that of a professional. He never thought about the value and importance of freedom. He deprived the birds of their freedom to gain money. Bring out a contrast between Mr. Purcell and the customer. Purcell did not give much importance to freedom. He sold pets in cages and earned money. He took pleasure in engaging birds and animals. He was crazy about gaining money. But the customer was built of different stuff. His prison life had made him realize the value and the meaning of freedom. He bought a pair of doves with a money he had earned in the jail. He drew out the doves from the cages and tossed them into the air. He took pleasure in freeing and engaged there. Thus, we can say that both Mr. Purcell and the customer were shortly different from each other. Thank you, dear. That's it.